Everybody's always arguing about who the greatest of all time is, but who's to say there's just one? We've been blessed enough to witness some of the best players to ever exist in this time. And it's not always about records or stats, but also about how they carry themselves. So in today's video, we're talking about the 10 greatest athletes of all time across all sports. Sit back, relax, and let's get started. First up, the one and only Roger Federer. Who hasn't heard of the Swiss maestro? Federer has been a household name for over 20 years, and he's more loved and adored right now than ever before. The 41-year-old redefined the game of tennis in his own right, and he's inspired generations of athletes with his talent and charm. Now, the Swiss legend has been away from the game for over a year now because of an injury, but there isn't a day that goes by where fans don't eagerly wait for his return. Even after all these years, Federer is the talk of the town, and that's enough to prove his GOAT status, but worry not, he's also got the stats to back it up. He's been ranked number 1 in the world for 310 weeks, including 237 consecutive weeks, and he's ended the year as the top-ranked player 5 times. FedEx has also got an unrivaled titles collection with 103 ATP singles titles, the second most of all time, including 8 Wimbledon titles and a record 6 year-end championships. The maestro's tennis had many times been described as poetry in motion, and we couldn't think of more apt way to put it. There's just nothing quite like him. All in all, Federer is one of the greatest athletes to ever exist, and there are no two ways about it. Next, Lionel Messi. We all knew he was going to be on the list, didn't we? Who else if not him? Messi is widely regarded as the greatest soccer player ever, and you know what? He's got everything to prove it as well. The Argentine has a record 7 Ballon d'Or awards and 6 European Golden Shoes. With his previous club Barcelona, he won a club record 35 trophies, including 10 La Liga titles, 7 Copa del Reys, and 4 UEFA Championships leagues. It goes without saying that there's just simply nobody that comes even close to him. It's not just about scoring goals either, it's the way he creates chances and carries his team game in, game out. People can make baseless comparisons all they want, but nobody is quite like Leo Messi. Yes, he hasn't been able to win a World Cup yet, but somehow fans forget that he literally carried his team to a final in 2014. He's changed the sport by setting the highest possible standard, and let's be honest, there's only one name that comes to mind when somebody mentions soccer. Moving on, Bo Jackson. Did you know that Bo's the only person to be named an all-star in both baseball and football? Back in 1989 and 1990, he transcended sports with a series of Bo Knows ads by Nike. Starring Jackson and musician Bo Diddley went viral. Now, he's a force to be reckoned with on both fields. He still holds the record for most runs for 90-plus yards from scrimmage with 2. He hit at least 20 home runs in every full MLB season that he played. Like conquering one sport is hard enough, this guy reached for the stars in 2 different ones and made a name for himself in both. That is GOAT material. Coming up, Jim Thorpe. Let's run it back. In the early 20th century, when golf, horse racing, boxing, and baseball ruled the sporting world, Thorpe emerged as the greatest athlete the world has ever known. And some might argue more than a century later, that still stands. He excelled in many sports, both on amateur and professional levels. Did you know he played a huge role in getting football off the ground and running? Yeah, he was an icon both on and off the field. Jim, a Native American who wasn't even considered an American citizen when he stunned the world at the 1912 Olympic Games, should be considered the GOAT for just everything he went through just to be able to compete, and how he took a stand for millions of other people. He left this world a better place than he found it. For that, we're always indebted to Jim Thorpe. Up next, Babe Ruth. Now, here's another name you just knew was going to be on here. Every time somebody talks about the greatest of all time, Ruth's name comes up. Nicknamed the Bambino and the Sultan of SWAT, he started his MLB career as a lefty, star pitcher for the Red Sox, but his greatest fame came as a slugging outfielder for the Yankees. Ruth is a cultural phenomenon in America, and he's widely considered the all-time greatest baseball player for all the right reasons. He holds a lot of major league records, but his talent knew no bounds. He was a dominant pitcher and outfielder, but he also was one of the best hitters to ever grace the sport. The Sultan of SWAT helped his team win several American League pennants and 4 World Series championships. Now for Michael Phelps. Phelps is easily the greatest swimmer of all time, no Nobody comes close. He's the most decorated Olympian of all time with a total of 28 medals, including a record 13 gold medals in individual events. The American won 8 gold medals at the 2008 Beijing Games, and he took over his fellow American swimmer Mark Spitz's 1972 record of 7 first-place finishes at any single Games. Phelps has won a total of 82 medals in major competitions, 65 which are gold. Our boy's got some absolutely insane numbers. Did you know that he's won the World Swimmer of the Year award 8 times as well? In his sport, there's not much that he hasn't conquered, and he's a true idol for all those watching. Up next, Usain Bolt. Bolt's got a story like no other. He's the world record holder in the 100 meters, 200 meters, and 4x100 meters relay. He's the first man to hold both the 100 meter and 200 meter world records since the fully automatic time became mandatory. He's the only sprinter to win Olympic 100 meter and 200 meter titles at 3 consecutive Olympic Games, and he's also won 2 4x100 relay gold medals. He broke his own record of 9.69 seconds with 9.58 seconds in 100 meter in 2009. And that just shows that he had no one else to go up against but himself. Armed with the perfect attributes, speed, swagger, and an unmatched spirit, Bolt was bound to rule the world. Athletics have never been the same since its biggest star arrival. He's changed the game for the better, and we're forever thankful. Moving on, Wayne Gretzky. You can't watch one Canadian show without the mention of the great Wayne Gretzky. Aptly nicknamed the Great One, there's nothing in the game of ice hockey that he couldn't do. In 20 seasons of NHL, Gretzky was a top goal scorer, assistant producer, and point scorer. There's never been anybody better than him. Even to this day, he's got more assists in his career than any other player who scored total points. He's also the only NHL player in history to total over 200 points in a single season, except he's done it 4 times. Now, the Great One retired in 1999, but nobody's ever been able to outshine him, and we highly doubt anybody ever will. He was 1 in a billion. As soon as he stepped away from the sport, he was instantly inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and if you ask us, it should have happened sooner. Next up, Muhammad Ali. This one's the greatest of all greats, and we don't say that lightly. Ali's rightly considered the most important and renowned athlete of the 20th century. His status knows no bounds and can't be put into words. He was part of many historic matches, which include the highly popular fights with Sonny Liston, Joey Frazier, and George Foreman. There's no doubt that he's the greatest boxer of all time, but his presence outside the box was just as vital to his legacy, if not more. Ali was known for his strength, courage, and outspoken beliefs that made him so loved by everybody across the world. He was a hero to many people in his time, and he remains to many to this day. His legacy will live on forever. There will never be another Muhammad Ali. Finally, Michael Jordan. Jordan played 15 seasons in the NBA, and he won 6 championships with the Chicago Bulls, and he was the Finals MVP in all of them. Now, we all know he's much more than a basketball superstar, and there's literally no surprise that he's on this list. His achievements go beyond a game. He's held on to the title of greatest of all time for almost 30 years, and his resume to this day is incomparable. While most players tend to master one end of the court, MJ was a master on both ends. On the offensive, he averaged 30.1 points, a record nobody has passed to this day. On the defensive, he averaged 6.2 rebounds and 2.3 steals for his career, and he was a 3-time steals leader. Really, who's doing it like him? No other player in the history of the NBA holds a candle to the great Michael Jordan. Every time there's talk about the greatest athletes of all time, you can be sure that one name will be there. That's a wrap for this video. Who do you think is the greatest athlete of all time? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.